Welcome to the podcast series. Today we are starting chapter 3, Plant Kingdom. In the previous chapter, we looked at the broad classification of living organisms under the system proposed by Whittaker in 1969, wherein he suggested the five kingdom classification which Monera, Protista, Fungi, Animalia and Plantae. In this chapter, we will deal in detail with further classification within the kingdom Plantae, popularly known as the plant kingdom. We must stress here that our understanding of the plant kingdom has changed over time. Fungi and members of the Monera and Protista having cell walls have now been excluded from Plantae, though earlier placed in the classification placed them in the same kingdom. So the cyanobacteria that are also referred to as blue-green algae are not algae anymore. In this chapter, we will describe algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperm and angiosperm under Plantae. Let us also look at a classification within angiosperm to understand some of the concerns that influenced the classification system. The earliest system of classification used only gross superficial morphological character such as habit, color, number and shape of leaves, habit, color, number and shape of leaves, etc. They were based mainly on vegetative character or on the androecium structure system given by Linnaeus. Such systems were artificial. They separated the closely related species since they were based on a few characteristics. Also, the artificial systems gave equal weightage to vegetative and sexual characteristics. This is not acceptable since we know that often the vegetative character are more easily affected by environment. As against this, natural classification system developed, which were based on natural affinities among the organisms and considered not only the external features but also internal features like ultrastructure, anatomy, embryology and phytochemistry. I am repeating it again: ultrastructure, anatomy, embryology and phytochemistry. Such a classification for flowering plants was given by George Bentham and Joseph Dalton Hooker. At present, phylogenetic classification system based on evolutionary relationship between the various organisms are acceptable. This assumes that organisms belonging to the same taxa have a common ancestor. We now use information from many other sources too to help resolve difficulties in classification. This becomes more important when there is no supporting fossil evidence. Numerical taxonomy, which is now easily carried out using computer, is based on all observable characteristics. Numbers and codes are assigned to all the characters and the data are then processed. In this way, each character is given equal importance and at the same time hundreds of characters can be considered. Cytotaxonomy, that is based on cytological information like chromosome number, structure and behavior, and the chemotaxonomy that uses the chemical constituents of the plant to resolve confusions are also used by taxonomists these days. Now we are going to read the algae. Algae are chlorophyll bearing simple, thalloid, autotrophic and largely aquatic, that is both freshwater and marine organisms. They occur in a variety of other habitat, that is moist stones, soils and wood. Some of them also occur in association with fungi, that is lichen, and with animal, example on sloth bear. The form and size of algae is highly variable, ranging from colonial form like volvox and the filamentous form like Eulothrix and Spirogyra. A few of the marine forms such as kelp forms massive plant bodies. The algae reproduce by vegetative, sexual, asexual Methods. Vegetative reproduction is by fragmentation. Each fragment develops into a thallus. Asexual reproduction is by the production of different type of spores, the most common being the zoospores. They are flagellated, motile, and on germination give rise to new plants. Sexual reproduction takes place through fusion of two gametes. These gametes can be flagellated and similar in size, as in Eulothrix, or non-flagellated, non-motile, but similar in size, as in Spirogyra. Such reproduction is called isogames. Fusion of two gametes dissimilar in size, as in species of Eudorina, is termed anisogames. Fusion between one large non-motile static female gamete and a smaller motile male gamete is termed oogamous. Example: Volvox and Fucus. Let's proceed further. Algae are useful to man in a variety of ways. At least a half of the total carbon dioxide fixation on Earth is carried out by algae through photosynthesis. Being photosynthetic, they increase the level of dissolved oxygen in their immediate environment. They are of paramount importance as primary producer of energy-rich compound which form the basis of the food cycles of all aquatic animals. Many species of Porifera, Laminaria, and Sargassum are among the 70 species of marine algae used as food. Certain marine brown and red algae produce large amount of hydrocolloid water-holding substance, example algae, that is brown algae, and carrageen, that is red algae, which are used commercially. Agar, one of the commercial products obtained from Jalidium and Gracilaria, are used to grow microbes and in preparation of ice cream and jellies. Chlorella, a unicellular algae rich in protein, is used as food supplement even by space travelers. The algae are divided into three main classes: Chlorophycia, Phaeophycia, and Rhodophycia. First, we are going to read Chlorophycia. The members of Chlorophycia are commonly called green algae. The plant body may be unicellular, colonial, or filamentous. They are usually grass green due to the dominance of pigment chlorophyll A and B. The pigment are localized in definite chloroplast. The chloroplast may be discoid, plate-like, reticulate, cup-shaped, spiral, or ribbon-shaped in different species. Most of the members have one or more storage bodies called pyrenoids located in the chloroplast. Pyrenoids are located in the chloroplast. The chloroplast may be discoid, plate-like, reticulate, cup-shaped, spiral, or ribbon-shaped. Understood? In different species. Most of the members have one or more storage bodies called pyrenoids located in the chloroplast. Pyrenoid contain protein beside starch. Some algae may store food in the form of oil droplets. Green algae usually have a rigid cell wall made of an inner layer of cellulose and an outer layer of pectose. Vegetative reproduction usually takes place by fragmentation or by formation of different types of spores. Vegetative reproduction is by fragmentation or by formation of different types of spores. Asexual reproduction is by flagellated zoospore produced in zoosporangia. The sexual reproduction shows considerable variation in the type and formation of sex cells, and it may be isogamous, anisogamous, or oogamous. Some commonly found green algae are Chalidomonas, volvox, Eulothrix, Spirogyra, and Kyra, and Kara, Chara. Next, we are going to read Phaeophycia. The member of Phaeophycia or brown algae are found primarily in marine habitat. They show great variation in size and form. They range from simple branched filamentous form ectocarpus to profusely branched forms as represented by kelps, which may reach a height of 100 meters. कितने 100 meters. They possesses chlorophyll A, C, carotenoids and xanthophylls, which may reach a height of 100 meter, 100 feet, 100 centimeter आ सकता है ऑप्शन में ऑब्जेक्टिव बन के. Understood? They vary in color from olive green to various shades of brown depending upon the amount of xanthophyll pigment, fucoxanthin, present in them. Food is stored as complex carbohydrates which may be in the form of laminarin or mannitol. The vegetative cell have a cellulosic wall usually covered on the outside by a gelatinous coating of algin. The protoplast contain, in addition to plastids, a centrally located vacuole and nucleus. The plant body is usually attached to the substrate by the holdfast and has a stalk, the stipe, and leaf-like photosynthetic organ, the frond. Leaf-like photosynthetic organ is frond. Vegetative reproduction takes place by fragmentation. Asexual reproduction in most brown algae is by biflagellate zoospore that are pear-shaped and have two unequal laterally attached flagella. Sexual reproduction may be isogamous, anisogamous, or oogamous. Union of gametes may take place in water or within the oogonium in the oogamous species. The gametes are pyriform, pear-shaped, and bear two laterally attached flagella. The common forms are ectocarpus, dictyota, laminaria, sargassum, and fucus. Rhodophycia. The members of Rhodophycia are commonly called red algae because of the predominance of the red pigment R5-arthrin in their body. Majority of the red algae are marine with greater concentration found in the warmer areas. They occur in both well-lighted terrain close to the surface of water and also at a great depth in the ocean where relatively little light penetrates. The red thalli of most of the red algae are multicellular. Some of them have complex body organization. The food is stored as Floridan starch, which is very similar to amylopectin and glycogen in structure. The red algae usually reproduce vegetatively by fragmentation. They reproduce asexually by non-motile spores and sexually by non-motile gametes. Asexually by non-motile spore and sexually by non-motile gametes. Sexual reproduction is oogamous and accompanied by complex post-fertilization developments. The common members are Polysiphonia, Porphyra, Gracilaria, and Gelidium are common example of Rhodophycia. Understood? Now we are going to read Bryophytes. Bryophytes include the various mosses and liverworts that are found commonly growing in moist shaded areas in the hills. Understood? Bryophytes are also called amphibians of the plant kingdom because these plants can live in soil but are dependent on water for sexual reproduction. For sexual reproduction, they usually occur in damp, humid, and shaded localities. They play an important role in the plant succession on bare rocks soils. The plant body of bryophytes is more differentiated than that of algae. It is thallus-like and prostrate or erect and attached to the substratum by unicellular or multicellular rhizoids. They lack true roots, stems, or leaves. They may possess root-like, leaf-like, or stem-like structures. The main plant body of the bryophytes is haploid. It produces gametes, hence is called gametophyte. The sex organ in bryophytes are multicellular. The male sex organ is called antheridium. They produce biflagellate antherozoids. The female sex organ called archegonium is a flask-shaped and produce a single egg. The antherozoids are released into water where they come in contact with archegonium. An antherozoid fuses with the egg to produce the zygote. Zygotes do not undergo reduction division immediately. They produce a multicellular body called a sporophyte. The sporophyte is not free living but attached to the photosynthetic gametophyte and derive nourishment from it. Some cells of the sporophyte undergo reduction division, meiosis, to produce haploid spores. These spores germinate to produce gametophyte. Bryophytes in general are of little economic importance, but some mosses provide food for herbaceous mammals, birds, and other animals. Species of Sphagnum, a moss, provide peat that have long been used as fuel and as packaging material for transshipments of living material because of their capacity to hold water. Mosses along with the lichens are the first organisms to colonize rocks and hence are of great ecological importance. They decompose rocks, making the substrate suitable for the growth of higher plants. Since mosses form dense mats on the soil, they reduce the impact of falling rain and prevent soil erosion. The bryophytes are divided into liverworts and mosses. We are going to read now liverworts. The liverworts grow usually in moist, shady habitats such as banks of streams, marshy ground, damp soil, bark of trees, and deep in the woods. The plant body of a liverwort is thalloid. Example, Merchantia. The thallus is a dorsiventral and closely appraised to the substrate. The leafy members have a tiny leaf-like appendages in two rows on the stem-like structures. Asexual reproduction in liverworts takes place by fragmentation of thalli or by the formation of a specialized structure called gamma, singular known as gamma. Gamma are green, multicellular, asexual buds which develop in small receptacles called gamma cups located on the thalli. The gamma become detached from the parent body and germinate to form new individuals. During sexual reproduction, male and female organ are produced either on the same or on different thalli. The sporophyte is differentiated in a food seta and capsule. After meiosis, spores are produced within the capsule. The spores germinate to form free-living gametophytes. Mosses, we are going to read. The predominant stage of the life cycle of the moss is the gametophyte, which consists of two stages. The first stage is the protonema stage, which develops directly from a spore. It is a creeping, green, branched, and frequently filamentous stage. The second stage is the leafy stage, which develops from the secondary protonema as a lateral bud. Understood? They consist of upright, slender axes bearing spirally arranged leaves. They are attached to the soil through multicellular and branched rhizoids. This stage bears the sex organ. Vegetative reproduction in mosses is by fragmentation and budding in the secondary protonema. In sexual reproduction, the sex organs Antheridia and Archegonia are produced at the apex of the leafy shoots. After fertilization, the zygote develops into a sporophyte consisting of hood, seta, and capsule. The sporophyte in mosses is more elaborate than that in liverworts. The capsule contains spores. Spores are formed after meiosis. The mosses have an elaborate mechanism of spore dispersion. Common examples of mosses are Funaria, Polytrichum, and Sphagnum. Understood? Funaria, Polytrichum, and Sphagnum are mosses. Now we are going to read pteridophytes. The pteridophyte include horsetails and ferns. The pteridophytes are used for medicinal purposes and soil binders. They are also frequently grown as ornamentals. Evolutionary, they are first terrestrial plant to possess vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. You shall study more about these tissues in chapter 6. The pteridophytes are found in cool, damp, shady places, though some may flourish well in sandy soil conditions. You may recall that in bryophytes, the dominant phase in the life cycle is the gametophytic plant body. However, in pteridophytes, the main plant body is sporophyte, which is differentiated into true root, stem, and leaves. This organ possesses well differentiated vascular tissues. The leaves in pteridophyta are small microphyles as in Selaginella, or large macrophyles as in ferns. Microphylle as in Selaginella and macrophylle as in ferns. ये जो सीरीज़ है ना, मैं बहुत धीरे धीरे जहाँ पे डबल हाईलाइट करके बोल रहा हूँ वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट लाइन्स है. आप अगर सुनोगे इनको डबल तो ये आपके माइंड में ऑटोमेटिकली वैसे ही छप जाएंगे और बहुत हेल्प करेगा. The sporophytes bear sporangia that are subtended by leaf-like appendages called sporophytes. In some cases, sporophytes may form distinct compact structure called strobili or cones in Selaginella and Equistum. The sporangia produce spores by meiosis in spore mother cells. The spores germinate to give rise to inconspicuous, small but multicellular, free-living, mostly photosynthetic thalloid gametophytes called prothallus. These gametophytes require cool, damp, shady places to grow. Because of this specific restricted requirement and the need for water for fertilization, the spread of living pteridophytes is limited and restricted to narrow geographical range. The gametophytes bear male and female sex organ called Antheridia and Archegonia respectively. Water is required for transfer of antherozoids. The male gamete released from the Antheridia to the mouth of Archegonium. Fusion of male gamete with the egg present in the Archegonium result in the formation of zygote. Zygote thereafter produce a multicellular well-differentiated sporophyte, which is dominant phase of the pteridophytes. In majority of the pteridophyte, all the spores are of similar kind, such as homosporous. In the majority of this, they are homosporous. Genera like Selaginella and Salvinia, which produce two kinds of spores, macro, that is large, and micro, that is small spores, are known as heterosporous. Understood? Genera like Selaginella and Salvinia produce two kinds of spore, macro and micro, known as heterospores. The megaspores and microspores germinate and give rise to female and male gametophytes respectively. The female gametophyte in this plant are retained on the parent sporophyte for variable periods. The development of the zygote into young embryo takes place within the female gametophytes. This event is a precursor to the seed habit, considered an important step in evolution. The pteridophytes are further classified into four classes, that is Coelopsida, which is Coelopsidum, Lycopsida, that is Selaginella, and Lycopodium comes in the category of the Lycopsida. Spinosida, that is Equistum, and Pteripsopsida, that is Dryopteris, Tapris, Adentium. In the Pteropsida, Dryopteris, Pteris, Adentium comes under this category in the Pteropsida. Now we are going to read the gymnosperm. The gymnosperm, gymnos, that is snake, sperma means seed, are plant in which the ovules are not enclosed by an ovary wall and remain exposed both before and after fertilization. The seed that develop post-fertilization are not covered, that is naked. Gymnosperm include medium-sized trees or tall trees and shrubs. One of the gymnosperm, the giant redwood tree sequoia, is one of the tallest tree species. The roots are generally tape roots. Roots in some genera have fungal association in the form of mycorrhiza, that is pinus, while in some other cycas, small specialized roots called coralloid roots are associated with the nitrogen-fixing cyanobacteria. Cycas, coralloid root associated with antofixing cyanobacteria. Okay? And in mycorrhiza, fungal association known as pinus. Pinus में होती है means. Okay? The stems are unbranched in cycas or branched in pinus and cedrus. You can remember it by sun-branched, that is cycas unbranched and pinus and cedrus branched. The leaves may be simple or compound. In cycas, the pinnate leaf persists for a few years. यहाँ पे चेंज करके मंथ डेज कर सकता है लाइन. So you should remember it. In cycas, the pinnate leaf persists for a few years. The leaves in some gymnosperm are well adapted to withstand extremes of temperature, humidity and wind. In conifers, the needle-like leaves reduce the surface area. Their thick cuticle and sunken stomata also help to reduce water losses. The gymnosperm are heterosporous. They produce haploid microspores and megaspores. The two kinds of spores are produced within the sporangia that are borne on sporophyll, which are arranged spirally along an axis to form legs or compact strobili or cones. Understood? To form legs or compact strobili or cones. ठीक है? The strobili, being microsporophylls and microsporangia, are called microsporangiate or male strobili. The microspore develop into a male gametophytic generation which is highly reduced and is confined to only a limited number of cells. This reduced gametophyte is called a pollen grain. The development of pollen grains takes place within the microsporangia. The cones bearing megasporophylls with ovules or megasporangia are called macrosporangiate or female strobili. The male or female cones or strobili may be born on the same tree, that is pinus. However, in cycas, male cones and megasporophylls are born on different trees. In the cycas, male cones and megasporophylls are born on different trees. The megaspores mother cell is differentiated from one of the cell of the nucellus. The nucellus is protected by envelopes and the composite structure is called an ovule. The ovules are borne on megasporophiles which may be clustered to form the female cones. The megaspore mother cell divide meiotically to form 4 megaspores. One of the megaspore enclosed within the megasporangium develops into a multicellular female gametophyte that bears 2 or more archegonia or female sex organs. The multicellular female gametophyte is also retained within megasporangium. Unlike bryophytes and pteridophytes, in gymnosperm, the male and the female gametophyte do not have an independent free-living existence. They remain within the sporangia retained on the sporophytes. The pollen grain is released from the microsporangium. They are carried in air currents and come in contact with the opening of the ovules borne on megasporophiles. The pollen tube carrying the male gametes grow towards the archegonia in the ovules and discharge their contents near the mouth of the archegonia. Following fertilization, the zygote develops into an embryo and the ovule develops into a seed. These seeds are not covered. Understood? Next we are going to read angiosperm. Unlike the gymnosperm, where the ovules are named, in the angiosperm or flowering plant, the pollen grain and the ovule are developed in a specialized structure called flowers. In angiosperms, the seeds are enclosed in fruits. The angiosperm are an exceptionally large group of plants occurring in wide range of habitats. They range in size from the smallest Wolfia to tall tree of eucalyptus that is over 100 meters. यहाँ पे चेंज हो सकता है कुछ भी सेंटीमीटर बट करेक्ट है 100 मीटर. They provide us with food, fodder, fuel, medicine and several other commercially important products. They are divided into two classes, the dicotyledons and the monocotyledons. Now we are going to read the summary in a quick way. Plant kingdom include algae, bryophyte, pteridophyte, gymnosperm and angiosperm. Algae are chlorophyll-bearing simple thalloid, autotrophic and largely aquatic organisms. Depending on the type of pigment possessed and types of stored food, algae are classified into 3 classes, namely chlorophycia, phaeophycia and rhodophycia. Algae usually reproduce vegetatively by fragmentation, asexually by formation of different types of spores, and sexually by formation of gametes which may show isogamy and oogamy. Bryophytes are the plant which can live in soil but are dependent on water for sexual reproduction. Their plant body is more differentiated than that of algae. Kinky bryophyte is more differentiated than that of algae. It is thallus-like and prostate or erect and attached to the subsystem by rhizoids. They possess root-like, leaf-like and stem-like structures. The bryophytes are divided into liverworts and mosses. The plant body of liverwort is thalloid and dorsiventrally, whereas mosses have upright, slender axis bearing spirally arranged leaves. The main plant body of a bryophyte is gamete producing and is called gametophyte. It bears the male sex organ called antheridia and female sex organ is called archegonia. The male and female gamete fuse to form zygote which produce a multicellular body called as sporophyte. It produces haploid spores. The spores germinate to form gametophytes. In pteridophyte, the main plant body is a sporophyte which is differentiated into true root, stem and leaves. This organ possesses well-differentiated vascular tissues. The sporophytes bear sporangia which produce spores. The spores germinate to form gametophytes which require cool, damp places to grow. The gametophyte bear male and female sex organ called antheridia and archegonia respectively. Water is required for transfer of male gamete to archegonia where zygote is formed after fertilization. The zygote produces a sporophyte. The gymnosperm are the plant in which ovules are not enclosed by any ovary walls. After fertilization, the seeds remain exposed and therefore these plants are called naked seeded plants. The gymnosperm produce microspore and megaspores, which are produced in microsporangia and megasporangia borne on the sporophyles. The sporophyles, microsporophyles, and megasporophyles are arranged spirally on axis to form male and female cones respectively. The pollen grain germinate and pollen tube release the male gamete into the ovule, where it fuses with the egg cell in archegonia. Following fertilization, the zygote develops into an embryo and the ovule develop into seeds. The angiosperm are divided into two classes, the dicotyledon and the monocotyledon. With this, our chapter is completed, the plant kingdom. Thank you for hearing.